The Unwanted Echo. Chapter 1. The Static Whisper. I can still remember the night I stumbled upon it. An old, dusty radio buried deep within the attic shadows, tucked away in a corner where cobwebs clung to its wooden frame like wisps of forgotten memories. It was as if time itself had left it there, waiting for me to stumble upon it on that fateful stormy evening. The wind howled outside my window, and I huddled closer to the radio, seeking solace in its metallic embrace. My fingers trembled as they spun the dial, searching for a reprieve from the unsettling sounds of the tempest raging outside. As I twirled through the channels, each one offered nothing but static or distant hums that only served to heighten the eerie atmosphere within me. But then there was an undulating hiss, a symphony of silence punctuated by ghostly whispers. At first, they were just whispers, soft murmurs I couldn't decipher. They sent shivers down my spine and filled me with an inexplicable dread. I turned off the radio, hoping to shake the feeling, but it lingered within me like an uninvited guest. Those same strange, static voices persisted in my mind long after shutting it down. Echoes that seemed to reverberate through every neuron, every cell of my being. They spoke of names I couldn't quite discern, places that sounded foreign, and events whose meaning escaped me. The following morning, they resurfaced as if embedded within the recesses of my brain. These whispers tormented me with their cryptic message. Find it, find it. I tried dismissing them, attributing it to a vivid dream or exhaustion from a restless night. Yet, each day brought more clarity. I could almost make out snippets of conversations, voices that spoke of something sinister. The static persisted for weeks, sometimes fading into an inaudible drone, but often returning with renewed intensity. My room became my sanctuary and prison as I tried to decipher their meaning. Every night at 11 p.m., the radio would awaken on its own, playing an incessant melody, a tune reminiscent of childhood lullabies, yet tainted by an unsettling quality that made the hairs on my neck stand upright. It was then that I realized it wasn't just static. There were voices within this cacophony, yearning to be heard. Their words drifted into my mind during the day now too, leaving me questioning my grip on reality. Friends at school whispered of a cursed object, an heirloom passed down through generations with dark tales attached to it. I dismissed their warnings as mere myth, but couldn't shake off the unease. Chapter 2. The Forgotten Frequency. Curiosity clawed at me like an insatiable beast, pushing me further into this enigma. As night fell, I returned to the attic and fiddled with knobs until finding a frequency that resonated with something else. A tune so haunting it could pierce glass. Each evening, as clocks struck midnight, this lullaby filled my room, beckoning me closer. Its melody was mesmerizing yet unnerving. It felt like a siren's call to venture into the unknown. I began documenting these nocturnal serenades, hoping patterns might reveal their origin or meaning. Hours passed, but every night at 12 a.m., it played. The voices grew louder, whispering secrets in an unintelligible language. One fateful evening, my friends noticed a change. My agitation and sleep deprivation. They'd often remark on the strange shadows under my eyes and ask if I was all right. Though their concerns were brushed aside by my insistence, it was just school stress. Little did they know that something else was brewing. Sarah, Rachel, and Ethan would frequently drop by for video game nights, but now hesitated at the door to my room, sensing the unsettling change within me. One evening, as we huddled around the screen playing Overwatch, I caught a glimpse of Sarah leaning in close to whisper, "Drew, is everything okay?" The radio interrupted us with that haunting lullaby, an eerie melody that seemed to seep into every corner of my mind and soul. Ethan noticed it too. His eyes darted towards the attic's entrance, as if he feared what might descend from those dusty shelves. We exchanged uneasy glances before returning to our virtual battle. Yet I knew their concern wasn't alleviated by my feigned laughter. That night after they left, I crept back up, the static swirling louder than usual. Find it, it said in that haunting lullaby. A voice I now recognized as feminine. A chill ran down my spine when Sarah whispered what I feared. "Drew, you should leave it alone." In sleep that deprived days, I realized those whispers weren't just echoes from beyond the radio. They'd taken residence within my mind. Chapter 3. The Unwanted Visitor. I woke to the lullaby as if a timer had been set. Ethan and Rachel refused to believe me, calling it urban legend nonsense, leaving me alone in this eerie dance with the unknown. Insomnia finally caught up, and I lay awake under an electric moonlight cutting through my curtains. Suddenly, whispers resounded from beyond my bed. "Find the journal of Eleanor." It was as if the static had escaped into my room's shadows. I turned on the light. There it stood, in the corner where I'd left it months ago. The cover bore an image I'd never noticed before. A child with sunken eyes holding a lantern and walking through mist. The journal revealed Eleanor's haunting journey, her descent into madness after discovering this very radio. As I read on, static filled my head again, echoing word from the pages, "Listen closely, listen well." With each night, they grew louder, seeping into every crevice of my room. An unending refrain that made me question everything about myself. I clutched the journal tightly, as if it could protect me for what lurked outside. A figure materialized by the window, a woman in tattered clothes and eyes like lanterns glowing in the dark. Rachel gasped behind me, her breath caught, eyes wide with an unspoken fear. As she turned to flee, the static grew louder than ever before. The truth is here. Eleanor's haunting tale seemed all too real now. Her words spoke of a child, lost and crying for his mother. But there it was outside my window, her ghostly form beckoning. In that moment, I understood the connection between this ancient device and this apparition. The radio had opened me to realms best left untouched, ushering in something sinister. I stared into those lantern eyes as they began to sway, drawn towards me like a moth to flame. Eleanor's spirit trapped in a world beyond our own. In that moment of dread, I knew the only way to free her was by uncovering truth behind these whispers. The journal fell from my trembling hands, and with it went any semblance of sanity. I rose to confront this entity, heart pounding as I approached the window. As our eyes met, she spoke in a voice like autumn leaves rustling through forgotten pages. "I've been waiting to find peace." It wasn't until that moment that reality crumbled beneath my feet, revealing an abyss between worlds, and I found myself stepping across the threshold into Eleanor's world. The lantern light spilled onto my face as we walked into a mist. It was then it clicked. I must return this cursed object to where it began. Their home. Rachel, Ethan, or even Sarah would think me insane. So I ventured forth and found myself in an old bookshop, dusty records spinning on ancient machines. "You should not have listened," the proprietor said, an air of knowing behind his eyes. With trembling hands, he handed over a journal belonging to Eleanor. Her story, written before she vanished into this void. A small wooden box accompanied it, containing her spirit and my fate. Upon opening it, lantern eyes met mine once more. They danced in the fading light as I let Eleanor pass through my fingers and back home. They would never understand, but for peace, some truths must be left buried. In the attic, a shadowy form faded into darkness, perhaps finally at rest. The lullaby still echoed in my head as I returned the journal, shutting the attic door behind me, trapping Eleanor forever